Hi, everyone. My name is Kalogirou. I am a registered nurse speaking today on behalf of the Canadian Nurses Association. In 2018, my partner and I decided to visit Montreal. While we were there, we experienced a deadly heat wave that killed 66 people in the city. As a nurse, it is my job to promote human health. And seeing the devastating effects of this heat wave made me realize just how important it was to consider the climate crisis alongside human health. We know that climate change is a serious existential threat, but I also want you to know that there is still hope. There is still a small window of time where we can make the significant transformative changes necessary to limit the negative health and life-threatening consequences of climate change. Part of how we do this is by taking health-centered climate action. The policy recommendation in this year's brief for Canada that I'm about to share with you does this exact thing. The recommendation states, integrate a planetary health lens into education and health system food provision, and societally into food production, consumption, and waste. Support healthy, sustainable eating that is accessible, affordable, and culturally appropriate. Before we unpack that, let's go back in time. In 2015, Canada released the latest version of its food guide. It was a big step forward in that, for the first time, it emphasized plant-based proteins over animal proteins, and it even drew attention to the connection between the food choices we make and their impact on the environment. This was a significant achievement. However, the guide's recommendations are not yet widely implemented. The Planetary Health Diet is a food guide that considers food and climate impacts together. Research shows that Canadians are eating both red meat and dairy at levels higher than what the Planetary Health Diet recommends. While it is admittedly challenging to make blanket statements on per capita emissions around food, the Planetary Health Diet generally suggests that we should aim for under 0.5 tons of CO2 equivalent per capita per year. Due to our dietary habits, Canadians' average food-related emissions are over double this. Foods high in emissions are also often harmful to our health. Data from the 2023 Global Lancet Countdown Report show that in 2020, 30,000 Canadian deaths were associated with insufficient consumption of nutritious plant-based foods. The associated health burden of excess red meat and dairy consumption in Canada was associated with 17,000 premature deaths. In the same year, red meat and dairy still accounted for 60% of all emissions associated with the consumption of agricultural products in Canada, and 48% of all emissions related to agricultural production. When we view food systems from production, consumption, and waste from a planetary health perspective, our goal is to simultaneously promote high levels of human health and the health of our planet. In this year's brief, we call on hospitals and schools to take on this planetary health perspective with regards to the foods that they serve or should start serving. A wonderful example of leadership in the health sector comes from Nourish. Nourish is an organization that places an emphasis on local production, planetary health menus, and Indigenous foodways. Nourish has partnered with the World Resource Institute to bring the Cool Food Pledge to Canada. Hospitals that sign on to this pledge commit to reducing emissions associated with the food they serve by 25% by 2030. 5 major health organizations and 16 participating health facilities in Canada have signed on to date, serving 4 million meals each year. Schools are another place for leadership. Canada is one of the only industrialized nations without a national school food program. Offering a school food program that is centered around planetary health would support the planet and healthy child development. When children's brains are well nourished, they learn better, and this further benefits future health, our economy, and productivity for years to come. Finally, equity is key in shifting to planetary health dietary habits. Almost 1 in 5 people in Canada live with food insecurity. Fresh produce is prohibitively expensive for some households and some rural and remote communities. Increasing nutrition support programs for low-income households should focus on plant-forward and minimally processed foods. Indigenous traditional food sources are affected by climate change, yet traditional food offers nutritional, cultural, and spiritual benefits. So promoting Indigenous food sovereignty is another win-win opportunity to benefit both health and the environment. When we intertwine climate change and health, we start seeing numerous opportunities for positive change. By promoting the health of our planet, we inherently foster our individual and collective health. And this is a responsibility that we all share. Thank you.